So how much have condos actually dropped in price in the Lower Mainland? Let's get into it. My name is Jeff McLennan. I am a realtor with RE/MAX All Points in New Westminster, and it seems to me that the question on everybody's mind right now is how much has the market actually corrected? Last week, we took a look at housing prices and we went through all of the numbers there. If you look at the stats for condos, it tells a slightly different story. I'm going to use New Westminster as an example because it's the area I specialize in, it's the area I know the best. But if you're looking at the other suburbs of Vancouver or even Vancouver itself, the numbers are going to be pretty similar, although the timing of when things changed might be slightly different. The first stat that I watch every month is the sales to active ratios, and basically all this is tracking what percentage of the homes sell each month. These numbers might not mean a whole lot to you. Like if I say, 40% of all homes sold last month, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We need a little bit of context. Anytime that number gets below 12%, that's considered a buyer's market. There is too much inventory and not enough buyers, and prices start to drop. When the numbers are between 12 and 20%, that's what's considered a balanced market. And the final thing is anything over 20% is considered a seller's market. There are more buyers than the number of properties that are coming on the market, and this drives up demand. The other thing we have to look at though is the direction that it's moving, because the numbers you're gonna see are going to be quite high, but they're moving downwards. So even though we're still technically in a seller's market, we're still in a shift. So the height of the market in condos was in March. And according to the stats, we had 117% sales ratio. If you've ever done math before, you might be saying to me, Jeff, it is impossible for 117% of homes to sell. And you're correct. This is an error in the way that we report our sales. Sometimes homes get carried over from the month before. But either way, basically everything was selling. If you look at today though, the numbers have dropped by more than half. We are looking at a 48% sales ratio. That is a huge change in our market. But before we get too excited, remember anything over 20% is still considered a seller's market. This is a very different drop than what we are seeing in the detached house market. It has also had a huge shift, but its sales ratios has fallen further. And I think one of the questions that I get asked the most right now is, I keep seeing on the news that prices have fallen. Why haven't condo prices fallen more? And the sales ratio here is a big indicator of why, because there are still way too few listings on the market compared to the number of people trying to buy. I would bet that this number would continue to fall at least another 10% before the correction is done. But I have been wrong before.
What do you think?
I think you're trying to help. But I've been wrong before.
Another stat that is a very good indicator of what's going on is what percentage is the sale price compared to the list price. The height here was not actually in March, it was in February. In February, your average condo in New West was selling for 7.3% over the asking price. Today, that number is 99.8%. So what does that tell us? Most buyers are not negotiating large numbers off the asking price. And a lot of condos are still selling over, but it's not these gigantic multiple offers that we were seeing before. And my firsthand experience supports this as well. What I am seeing is that at the height of the market, we would have between 10 to 15 offers. Those offers could go as high as over $100,000 over the asking price. At least half of them would be subject free. Not a fun way to buy a home. Today, most multiple offers, you're only competing with one or two other buyers. I'm finding that the majority of them have subject to financing. They also have subject to home inspection. And they are selling over the asking price, but we're talking about maybe 10 or 20 grand over, not 50 to 100. It might not seem like much, but this is a big change. So what does this mean? How much has the average condo actually dropped? What are the dollars and cents? And one way to look at this is the average sale price. Now, at the height of the market, the average condo in New West was selling for about $675,000. Now we're looking at about $630,000. If we look at price per square foot, the number went from $768 per square foot to $729. So I dug through and I tried to find condos that sold at the height of the market in March, and then also looked at could I find anything that was recent that had sold now that was very comparable. And I think I found about as good a comparison as you can. In March, 1407 833 Agnes Street sold, and last month 207 833 Agnes Street sold. These condos are clearly in the same building. Looking at the condition, they were very similar. They're both 07 units, so they are exactly the same layout. It doesn't hurt that 1407 is a listing I sold, so I'm incredibly familiar with the sale and what happened. Both condos asked exactly the same asking price. The one on the 14th floor sold in multiple offers for $210,000 over the asking price. The one on the second floor also sold in multiple offers, but it sold for $99,000 over at asking. Now, I'm gonna round that up to 100 because math is hard. So we have a $110,000 difference between the asking price of both condos, but we need to factor in for the height of the condo. The 14th floor one is worth somewhere between $40,000 to $60,000 more based on how high up it is and on the view. So let's split the difference. Let's take $50,000. So we have 210 minus 50,000, that is 200 minus 40, we have $160,000 over the asking price versus $100,000 over the asking price. We are looking at a $60,000 difference between the height of the market and now. And that feels about right to me. An interesting question that was asked to me last week was a viewer called me and wanted to know, is now a good time to buy an investment condo in New West? They wanted to know whether or not you could actually be cash positive and how much of a down payment would they need in order to make that work. Taking a look at the numbers, I thought it was pretty interesting, so I'll share that with you guys next week. If you want to make sure that you get that, please subscribe. And in the meantime, if you have any questions about the real estate market or you want to talk about your plans, you can give me a call or click the link below to set up a time to chat. Thanks.